Hi, my name is Jessica Wilson, and I'm a physics instructor at Hillsborough Community College. And I'd like to share how I and hopefully my students are surviving the transition of my physics courses from face to face format to an online format during COVID 19. Now, prior to this, I had never taught an online course, and I felt lost and confused and stressed and disoriented. And I knew at least some of my students must be feeling that way as well, as some of them I knew had not taken online courses before. So, my main goal during the second half of the spring semester was to try to maintain as much consistency as I could, try to keep students engaged, and try to make things as simple as possible for them. So I'm going to share some of the ways that I did that through Canvas, demonstrations, screencasts, online discussions and quizzes, Zoom meetings and tests, and how some of those things have changed or been adjusted for the current summer semester. Now, luckily, even before COVID-19, I already used Canvas for some things. So the figure on the left showed what my home screen looked like. So there are links to each of the chapters and equation sheets and other information that the students use, and all of those links take them directly to the modules. And that was already in place before the transition to online. Once we transitioned to online, I added an additional link for them that had all of the course updates due to COVID. And so everything they needed to know, all the new information, amended syllabus, and all of that was added. Image to the right shows a screenshot of one of my modules, and I'm going to actually go into one so we can see it better. All right, so I'm going to go into one of my modules and just show you how I have them set up and how it's similar and different from the spring semester. So, all of my modules are set up pretty much in the same format. Normally in class, I'll show brief videos, maybe 30-second clips, maybe 2-minute clips that introduce the students to the chapter or show them phenomena related to the chapter. And so I post a couple of videos, usually just 2 to 3 at the beginning of each chapter, and those are very short. So at the beginning of each module, I always post a couple of videos. Then I always post a link directly to the chapter that they need to read. And so they have an online form of the book, and they have the option to buy the hardback copy as well. So this takes them directly to the free online version of the book. And then normally in the spring, I just posted, I used to post PowerPoints before the transition to online, the same PowerPoints that I used in class. But then I started using screencasts for my lectures, and so I post those in here as well, and I try to break them up so I'm not talking for an hour and a half straight. And then after the screencasts that cover the material, I do example problems. Then I have added in discussions, and I did not add those in the spring course, but I did start doing that in the summer course. And also there's a quiz for each chapter. After the quiz, we used to do quizzes in class. I stopped doing quizzes during the spring semester once we transitioned to online, just to try to minimize their stress. But during the summer, I've added those in. And then I previously, before the transition to online, I already posted their homework online, their assignments, and so they were already accustomed to that. They used to turn them in class, and after the transition, I created a spot for them to submit their homework online. So all of the modules kind of follow that same format. And then in most modules, I'll add supplemental things, and I label them as supplemental so the students know they don't have to watch those things. Sometimes there's links to Khan Academy or articles or other videos, or just things that if they're interested and want to look further, they have additional resources to use. Now, in class, I would try to do a demonstration during at least one demonstration during each class period. And so, in lieu of that, I started posting demonstrations. Sometimes it's videos of me doing a demonstration, and sometimes it's not. I would find videos online of someone else doing demonstrations, such as this one shown, demonstration of the Young's double slit experiment and wave interference. Sometimes I'll show a demonstration doing a simulation, or I'll post the simulation for the students to play around with for hands-on practice. And I usually just post those at the beginning of each chapter where I do those intro videos in the modules. As I mentioned before, I had never taught online before, never planned to teach online. Technology hates me. Everything I touch freezes, dies, crashes. So I did not want to do live Zoom meeting classes because I knew that just would not work for me. And I don't do photos or videos or anything where I'm in front of a camera. And so I decided to do screencasts for my method of delivering lectures and material. Now, I like screencasts because they allow me to go through a PowerPoint and explain things just as I would have during class, which they were already used to, but also because screencasts allow me to annotate, and much of our class time is spent working out problems. And so I might post a problem like this in class and tell the students to take out a piece of paper, list their knowns and unknowns, choose their equation, and try to solve it. And then I would, after giving them some time to do it, we would work through it together on the board, and I could do that here. On the screencast, I'll tell them to pause the video, write down their knowns and unknowns, try to solve the problem. It's up to them whether or not they actually do it, but then I go through and solve it just like I would on the board in class. All right, so I tried to keep demonstrations and lectures at least as similar as possible as I could to the face-to-face format. In class, we would have various discussions. During the spring semester, I did not include that in the course once it transitioned online, but during the summer, I have reincorporated that. So since we don't do it in class, I added it in online. They are low point values. And sometimes I require students to respond to other students. Most of the time I don't. I encourage them to. A lot of them do go back and forth. Some of them don't. And I try to vary the different types of discussions. And it's mainly for the purpose of keeping them engaged, showing them ways that the material relates to things other than just the textbook. So sometimes it might be looking up information, or I'll give them an article or a video about a physicist and ask them to, extract information from it and then, discuss what they found most surprising about that person. Or this chapter 6 one, I asked them to find a recent news or magazine article that they could somehow relate to that chapter. Ask them to, provide a link to the article, give a, brief summary, and discuss what they thought was most interesting. Other types of discussions, I'll give them a recent news article and ask them for their thoughts, or, ask them a certain question about it. And sometimes, like this chapter 9 one, I'll post a video, have them watch a portion of it, and it's not a science video, but it'll be a video that they have to figure out how it's related to the chapter. So it requires them to think a little bit more. And I really didn't expect the students to enjoy the discussions, but some of them spend a lot of time on it, a lot more than what's required, and they tend to enjoy it and tend to like it much more than I expected. So I'll probably continue that even once I go eventually go back to face-to-face format. In my face-to-face classes, I would give random quizzes. Some of them were actual quizzes based on, material we had covered or their current reading assignment. A lot of times it was in-class activities that I would just count as a quiz grade, basically participation. So I give them short quizzes. They're like 5 questions, super easy, questions about the reading material or videos they were supposed to watch. They get 2 attempts and they're low point values, but it keeps them engaged, and it's try to keep them on task. I had never even heard of Zoom or used it prior to the transition. During the spring semester, I scheduled optional Zoom meetings during what would have been our normal class periods. And so students didn't have to go on. It was basically just to give them opportunities to answer questions or to help them with anything they needed. And currently over the summer, I don't have scheduled class times, but I know some of the students, like me, work better off of a set schedule. So I give them an example guideline schedule. They have certain due dates. Those are always highlighted. They have to do those things by those certain days and times. But even over the summer, I have scheduled optional Zoom meetings each week, and I put it on the schedule just to remind them each week. So I try to do one in the morning, one in the evening. So hopefully anybody who wants to attend one is able to attend one or the other with their work and school schedules. But I found the students enjoy interacting with each other, and some of them are much more likely to come on and ask questions if I already have it set up, while others, have no problem setting up individual Zoom meetings with me to ask for help as well. The last thing that I kind of struggled with and tried to keep consistent was the testing. Now, in some of my introductory physics courses, the tests are multiple choice, and I kept those multiple choice. But in my Physics 1 courses with algebra and calculus based, all of my tests are free response, and I wanted to keep them that way. So what I did, I created essay questions in the online version of the test. But I have them work out all the problems and show all their work on paper just like I would in class. And I have certain ways I like for them to do it, so I cover all of that, in the syllabus and at the beginning of the semester. And I also remind them in the quiz instructions what I'm looking for. I have them work it out all on paper. After they work it out all on paper, before they submit it online, they put in just their starting equations and their final answers in the answer boxes on the online portion of the test. And they're supposed to show their scratch paper to the screen and then submit their test. And then they're told they're given 5 minutes. I give them longer. That once they submit the test online, they then go to the modules, and for each test, I give them an information sheet, give them guidelines on kind of narrow down what they should study for, and in that same module, I put a spot for them to upload their work and calculations, and that's what I grade. I tried using the online calculator that HonorLock offers, but a lot of students reported having trouble with that, so now I allow them to use their own calculators. But so far it seems to be working for me. It's still time consuming, and even more so than when I did it on paper, but I think for now I'll continue doing that. Well, I hope you found something useful about this video, and I hope that I'm sure that I will learn lots of new things from all of you who I listen to as well.